Hello, crypto degenerates and responsible adults pretending not to be. I'm Sen B'Hiro, and this is the SENB Daily Brief for Monday, November 10th. So, over the weekend, markets got a little perky because DC might finally stop speedrunning what I now call the shutdown game. That's right, the Senate actually moved a funding bill forward, which means we might not have to keep watching government employees compete for least productive branch of the republic. Global markets rally as Congress nears deal to end record-long shutdown, according to Reuters. Translation? The world took one big sigh of relief and Wall Street fired up the risk-on playlist again, because nothing says fiscal responsibility like running the country on patch notes. Bitcoin perked up, altcoins followed, and somewhere, a risk manager whispered, "Not again." Okay, let's get you briefed so you can sound smart on conference calls, and maybe a little irresponsible on the exchanges. All right, let's roll into our first segment, the market recap and weekend snapshot, where we'll see how Bitcoin, stocks, and the shutdown saga danced together over the weekend.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
Down, caffeine's up, let's talk markets. According to Reuters, global markets jumped Monday as U.S. lawmakers appeared close to ending the record-long government shutdown. And yeah, traders loved it. The FTSE 100 popped to an all-time high, European indexes followed suit, and Wall Street decided fiscal chaos was yesterday's problem, at least until next quarter. Now, over in crypto land, Bitcoin's sitting around 105 to 106K, which is basically the market saying, I don't trust DC, but I'll take the dopamine hit. Altcoins joined the party, ETH flirting with 3,200, Solana holding strong after that weekend pump, and even some of those questionable science project tokens showing green candles. The reason? Hope. Not fundamentals, not adoption, just pure uncut hope that the government won't trip over its own shoelaces for a week. Bloomberg adds that investors rotated into risk assets as shutdown-related uncertainty eased. Translation? People sold a little safety and bought a little crazy, because when the headlines get optimistic, liquidity forgets discipline. Stocks in the U.S. mirrored that optimism. S&P 500 futures up about 0.6%, NASDAQ riding high thanks to tech earnings spillover. And yes, that positive sentiment splashed right into crypto, proving once again that Bitcoin is basically Wall Street's emotional support animal. All right, that covers the numbers. Bottom line, markets are breathing easier, risk appetite's back on the menu, and for now, everyone's pretending this is fine. Okay, that's our snapshot of the weekend. Coming up next, we'll zoom out and look at the week ahead. The big one, CPI on Thursday. Plus, a few other macro events that could send your favorite token either moonward or straight back into your therapist's group chat. Okay, so we've covered the weekend roller coaster. Now let's talk about what's ahead. Because, yeah, the macro calendar is basically a jump scare this week. According to Bloomberg and MarketWatch, October's CPI data drops Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. That's the big one every trader, YouTuber, and wannabe economist is pretending to understand right now. A cooler than expected print keeps the soft landing narrative alive. And that's code for, please don't raise rates again, Jerome. If core CPI comes in hot, though, markets will do their best goldfish impression and forget every optimistic thing they said this morning. That's when you'll see yields spike and crypto take that synchronized dive we all pretend is a buying opportunity. Reuters notes that Fed officials are keeping a data-dependent stance, which is Fed speak for, we don't know either. There's also a slate of Fed speeches this week, so expect plenty of careful monitoring and vigilant assessment sound bites to fill the airwaves. Basically, financial Mad Libs. So, yeah, the theme this week is inflation roulette. If the numbers tame, risk assets run. If it's hot, we're back to doom scrolling and hopium memes. All right, enough macro for now. Coming up next, we'll take a peek at the regulatory temperature in Washington. Because even when the Fed takes a nap, the SEC is still out there playing whack-a-mole with crypto projects. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
Macro talk done, let's slide over to policy land, where the coffee's cold and the subpoenas are fresh. Reuters reports that the SEC is keeping its selective enforcement approach, focusing on settlements instead of headline-grabbing court battles. Translation, they're tired of losing to lawyers who actually understand crypto. Case in point, Gemini's settlement over its EARN program. They paid, they moved on, and nobody wants to talk about it anymore. Shocking, I know. The agency's latest remarks at a financial tech forum, picked up by Bloomberg, suggest they'll keep leaning on disclosure and custody rules while monitoring market integrity. I love that phrase. Sounds like something your ex says before checking your DMs. Bottom line, regulation isn't going away, but the vibe has shifted from crusade to cleanup. Builders, keep your paperwork neat. Investors, maybe stop calling everything yield farming. Anyway, speaking of things that heat up faster than regulators' tempers, let's check what's happening overseas. energy markets, oil prices, and those ever-fun geopolitical headlines. All right, let's zoom out a little, because it turns out the world outside our screens is still on fire. According to AP News and Al Jazeera, the Israel-Gaza ceasefire phase is winding down, with renewed talks between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Jared Kushner over long-term security guarantees. Energy traders don't love uncertainty, and sure enough, Brent crude's hovering around 63 to 64 a barrel as investors balance less fighting with more drama. Reuters adds that Russia's weekend strikes on Ukrainian energy sites sparked another round of global supply worries. So, yeah, between that and the shutdown chatter, oil's been doing the financial equivalent of a nervous eye twitch. And here's why it matters to you. Energy costs feed into inflation. Inflation feeds into Fed policy. And Fed policy feeds into whether your favorite altcoin flies or cries. It's all one big feedback loop powered by petroleum and bad decisions. Okay, enough doom and fuel for now. Let's lighten things up with a quick word from our sponsor. And yes, you already know the fuel I'm talking about. Whole Shot Coffee. All right, time to refuel, because if there's one global constant, it's that markets may run on speculation, but I run on Whole Shot Coffee. Whether you're doom-scrolling charts, chasing CPI leaks, or arguing on X about decentralized lettuce farms, you're going to need caffeine that actually shows up for work. Whole Shot Coffee isn't your average bean juice. It's roasted for riders, racers, and anyone trying to hit full throttle before the algorithm changes again. Try the fan favorite Roosted and Roasted by Ashley Filek or the Dark Bold Espresso number 67. Warning. Side effects may include productivity, confidence, and unsolicited life advice to coworkers. Whole Shot Coffee. Coffee that fuels champions. Okay, caffeine secured, brain online. Let's jump into my favorite part of the show, the community mailbag, where I answer your questions, roast your takes, and probably regret both.
The SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, caffeine's in. Let's open up the community mailbag, where you send the questions and I pretend to have answers. First up, Maya from Austin writes, do the Israel-Gaza headlines really affect crypto prices, or is that just media drama? Good question, Maya. Short version, yeah, they do, but indirectly. Oil prices go up, inflation gets sticky, the Fed tightens, and your alt bag gets lighter than your morning latte. So, yes, it matters, just not in the way the TV panel explains it. Jake in Phoenix says, shutdown's ending. Do we pump or rug? I love that we've reached a point where that's a legit economic question. For now, Jake, it's a relief bounce. Markets will pretend to be happy until Thursday's CPI report ruins everything. So trade safe and maybe don't bet your Thanksgiving fund on optimism. And finally, Luis Online writes, how can I get my question on the show? Simple. Grab some SENB, our community token, and submit your proof of thought. It's on-chain, transparent, and yes, occasionally hilarious. The best submissions make it on air. The worst ones become Tina Bean's talking points. Okay, great questions, everyone. Keep them coming. Keep them weird. And remember, your crypto takes are part of the show now.
Listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, before we wrap up, let's talk about what powers this whole circus, the SENB token. Holding SENB isn't just about speculation. It's your ticket to participate. You can submit your proof of thought questions, vote on stories, and even tip segments that make you laugh or cry, depending on your portfolio. And since this is crypto, it's all transparent and on-chain. Your comments, your votes, your roasts, immortalized forever in the blockchain's memory. To get involved, head over to senbhiromedia.com. You'll find the community links, token info, and a front row seat to the madness. Okay. That's the scoop on SENB. Now, let's close it out for today. All right, quick recap before we part ways. The shutdown deal looks close, CPI lands Thursday, and somewhere out there a trader is convincing himself that caffeine is a hedge. Remember, chaos might move markets, but it also sells a lot of coffee. I'm Sen B'Hiro, and this has been the SENB Daily Brief for Monday, November 10th. Stay caffeinated, stay skeptical, and keep your charts honest. See you again soon, folks. The SENB Daily Brief is a production of Sen B'Hiro Media in collaboration with Whole Shot Coffee, coffee that fuels champions. Written and hosted by yours truly, Sen B'Hiro. Production editing and scheduling handled by Maya Valencia, who somehow keeps me on time, caffeinated, and occasionally polite. Original theme music composed and produced by Paul Hahn, the community legend whose beats hit harder than a Fed rate hike. Research support provided by the SENB community. Proof that sarcasm and spreadsheets can coexist. For more shows, merch, and on-chain chaos, visit senbhiromedia.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stay caffeinated. And remember, if it's not in the brief, it probably wasn't bullish anyway.
Set my wallet free.